What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the Angry American Nation podcast, and our second installment of In Focus, which is really still the first one. I'm enjoying this, and I hope you guys are too, because these are cool conversations where we can get into the weeds on stuff with our resident expert of all things Middle East at the moment. Emery is still here with us. How you doing, brother? I say welcome back. You never left.
Did you call me? Did you call me next?
Oh, yes, I did. Well, all right. We did discuss expert. We discussed expert earlier, but
Sexpert, baby.
Sexpert. Okay, there we go. I'll take it. So when we left off, guys, we were just kind of laying out sort of the history of the Druze a little bit and their relationship with Israel and some of the other nations there, leading up into where we currently are, where there's essentially genocide. And I saw a news clip earlier where they're like, well, we'd hate to use the word genocide. You always hate to use the word genocide when it's Arabs committing it. I've noticed that. The media does not like to accuse Arabs of genocide.
Well, what constitutes genocide? Because people kill people all the time, but it's not always genocide. What genocide is killing people with the intent to wipe those people out. Not that specific person, but an ethnic group, a social group, a religious group, whatever it is.
Yep.
And that's what's going on there.
There are 10 tenets to genocide that have pretty well been established, because this is the way it works. And not only do they want to remove the people, they want to remove all evidence of the people, their history, culture, like all of it. A genocide is, like you said, it's not just to kill some people, it's to kill all of these people and essentially erase their existence. They don't want it to ever even be known that they were there before, kind of a thing.
Right.
So it's a cultural attack. It's a societal attack. It's military, the whole thing. Genocide, there's a lot to it. But what's being presently conducted against the Druze by the Bedouins, supported by Galani, is genocide. They're going to raise these villages to the ground. So
100%. Look, and if there's, even if I had them stored here, I would not want to put the videos up on our thing.
No,
because I don't want to support showing genocide.
No,
but you can go and look up videos. I'm sure some of you already have, of what's going on there, and you will see. So for example, the Druze, the clergy, the religious, groups of them.
Mustache.
One of the things is they have a beard and a mustache, and it's part of their religious thing. And so what you'll see in a lot of these videos is you'll see these Bedouins coming up and cutting, the beards off of these people before they kill them, and
forcibly shaving them, like shaving them off,
ripping off their mustache.
Well, I know that's a cultural thing too. Even some, is it the Hasidic Jews that grow beards?
Yeah. Yes. Among other groups of Jews, but yes.
I know that they're one, but I know for them it's a huge insult for anyone other than a Jew to touch that. And I imagine that's probably the same for the Druze, because I've seen, like you said, you can Google some videos, you'll get a little bit of stuff. A lot of mustache pulling. They're pulling on their mustaches, and a lot of mustache shaving. One video that's really making the rounds out there right now is of a public execution of Druze. And one of the Druze just happened to also be an American citizen who was in Syria visiting his family. I don't know how these people plan trips like this in times like this. Like, I don't think I'd have been headed to Syria.
No, but wouldn't you want to go, make sure your mom and dad are, okay?
Yeah, well, yes.
I went back to Israel, right?
Of course I would, but I wouldn't be naive enough to think that especially as an American, that I could walk into Syria to visit my family in that sort of upheaval with minimal consequences. I'd have had a plan, and I'd have brought goodies. So
my guess is that he knew what he was getting himself into. I don't know. I don't know the person, right? But
I don't know him either. I watched the video of essentially his execution, his entire family, his extended family that was living in Syria, and him. And so now,
what they do, guys. This is what they do.
But that one Druze being executed on TV has now caught the attention of the State Department. Oh, we don't care if you're killing Arab Druze. You killed an American Druze. That's a problem now. you know.
Well, but it wasn't a problem. Let's bring this to the opposite side of the border there. It wasn't that much of a problem when a Israeli Druze woman who has a Druze restaurant in New York City had her shop vandalized and all that by these blue-haired freak idiot terrorist supporters in New York. Nobody gives a shit, but that's here. That's here.
I didn't even hear about that. So was it the Gaza crowd that was Palestine?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And she's
Really?
a proud Druze woman who hangs an Israeli flag because that's the country she's from. And she, next time I'm in New York, I will do everything to get a day off so I can go find her restaurant.
Yeah.
And by the way, in Israel, because we don't know that much about the Druze because they're all their shit secret. There's the big thing. All the Druze guys, they're like, oh yeah, every time I meet a Jew that doesn't really know Druze, they're like, but we love your food. We love you. Yeah, they got some of the best food ever.
Dude, I saw a video, and as I was doing my research leading up to this one, I caught a video, and it was of a Druze elder, and he was talking about like when they had done the open door policy there for the 26 years, anybody can join, and he goes, but the best reason to join is really our food. Like even one of their elders, he was even saying, he's like, our food's good. Like,
yeah, they know it, and they're not lying.
No, yeah, they were spot on about it. He was proud to say it too, which that's cool. That that part of that they're proud of their own culinary skills as a group. Like that's I like that. I dig that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's I brought that up more as a joke, just because so many Israelis, they don't go hang out in the Druze village, on weekends when they're off work, but whatever, and the one thing they know about the Druze off the bat is they got the best food on the planet.
So you mentioned a couple times now how the Druze society is kind of secretive, the religion's kind of secretive, and again, in doing my research, one of the things I learned is their version of a Bible. Call it what you want. I don't know what they call it. It's 5 volumes.
It's actually there are 100, and if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, somewhere in the region of 111 like separate scriptures.
Yeah, it's 5 volumes of books that make up their thing. And to the Druze, they consider each individual's relationship with God and I know it, I can't remember what you call it now.
I'm not even going to butcher it.
It's TAW something or another. I just forgot it. But it's personal. Like everybody, you worship in your way. Whatever you feel right doing in front of your God, that is what you do. And that's why it's so confusing to a lot of people.
That's that split when you're a kid where you can be like, hey, I just want to be normal, secular, or I want to join the religious kind of clergy group and really get into it and study it and understand the depths of the religion. So I think it's a beautiful thing. If you think of, the Druze many years ago could have gone a totally different direction and been like, hey, all these Sunnis and Shias are trying to kill us. And so even though I believe there are actually some Shia elements within the Sunni religion, but I can't be specific because I don't really know the specifics. This is stuff I've heard from both, rabbi lectures as well as some Druze that I've spoken to and listened to. But yeah, they could have chosen a very different direction, right? They could have, we're going to create a country, we're going to make, blah, 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 and go kill people. But that's not they didn't choose the go kill people direction, right? They chose the, hey, let's see if we can get along with these animals direction, and see how well that's working out for us.
That appears to never work out well for anybody who tries to get along with.
Certainly not in that neighborhood.
Especially that region. Well, and as we see, it's not just that region. Sorry, Mel had to go. It's not just that region. It's globally wherever they go. It's like this, and what's like just an example of this would be, I don't know the name of the place in Texas where the Muslims are wanting to build their own little city, going to be their own thing,
right?
Go to a Muslim country anywhere and say, we're naming this a Christian enclave, and you people can't come in here.
Right. Right.
Now we would say we would never do that to those people. That is their country. Who are we to go say that to them? The liberal, progressive hive mind would say that. And then they'll look at what's happening in Texas and go, that's just fine. They're just Muslims that want to live their own lives. And be like, you can't even negotiate with these people and get them to understand the danger of what's being done. We can look at places like Dearborn and Minneapolis and, all the other enclaves here in the United States where their Muslim numbers are very high. And like you say, are there good Muslims? Yes. But if you're a good Muslim,
by definition, you're not a good Muslim to Islam.
You're not a good Muslim to Islam. Yes, that's where I was going.
Yeah, so. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, you were right. That's where I was going. That's all I was trying to say. I know some Muslims that are great guys, but they're not good Muslims.
Exactly. By the way, what is the Muslim definition of a good Muslim? It is. Let me help you out here.
Yeah.
The Muslim definition of a good Muslim is a man who in his life emulates the works of the Prophet Muhammad. Okay, that sounds pretty benign, right?
Until you look at the works of Muhammad.
Read the Quran, right?
Yeah.
Because the Quran, where you read about, the things he does or did and claimed to do in addition, and his outlook on life is exactly what they're doing in Europe and America now, right? It's exactly what they're doing in Israel now. It all falls into step with what's written there, and I highly recommend that everybody download a free version of the Quran in English or whatever language you prefer, understanding that when it gets translated, it gets watered down so that it's not as
offensive,
undigestible to Westerners.
Offensive.
Because it is offensive. It's offensive.
Oh, yeah, it is. Right?
Yeah. But that's not really the topic here. We're not trying to bash
we're not going to beat up on them. I mean, it is what it is. For this episode.
Yeah. No, it's obviously that's the thing I feel most strong about in the world right now. Nothing could be more important because they're trying to take over America. They're succeeding in taking over Europe. We're just a couple steps behind. And this is, I don't care if you stick with, not all people are bad and not all people are bad, but if you understand the trend of what's happening and you relate it to what their leaders are saying verbatim, they're not even trying to hide it. And B, you do a little digging into the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the catalyst and driving force behind what's going on in Europe and America now in terms of the Islamic takeover, which we, ladies and gentlemen, are not only allowing to happen, we're inviting it in, right? We're
begging it. We're begging it to happen. It was there was just a I forget what city it was taken from, but they kept referring to him as a chaplain. He's a chaplain. He's a chaplain. He's a chaplain. No, he's a Muslim. He's an imam. He's not a chaplain. He's an imam.
Meaning he was a chaplain in the army?
No, this community, like he would go to prisons, of course, to get more Muslim converts. He would go to schools,
it's called Dawah.
It's called Dawah, yeah. Dawah. So, but they kept just calling him a chaplain. And until you kind of dug into it, then you realized, he's being deported because he's a Muslim imam with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. And that's why he's being deported. But the leftist media won't tell you that, but that's why he's being deported. He has terrorist connections. He's got to go.
Look, the Muslim brother. Maybe we should keep this off for a different thing because
we can. That's a whole other topic by itself. So,
but but it fits into Syria too, right? Because the Muslim Brotherhood was created. I'll just give a brief thing in the 1920s in Egypt is where it started as a group to take over the world with Islam, and the term Dawah is bringing people to Islam through education. And so whatever education means, Dawah is spreading Islam not it's a different form of jihad, right? Not all
Right.
jihad is, and you hear all the apologists, oh, it's a religion of peace. Well, there's my understanding is that jihad is mainly an internal struggle to be a better Muslim. Yeah, by doing what, dickhead? By
Yeah.
killing Jews and Christians.
Yeah.
So, yes, there are many meanings to the word jihad. And if I have a carpet business, I'm sorry, didn't mean to make a racist joke there with my example, but if I have a carpet business, let's say, right, and I've been selling a lot of rugs to these idiot Americans who just eat up my shit, right,
Mhm.
and I send a good amount of my proceeds to help out with jihad, that is my jihad. I am
Yeah.
part of jihad. Everyone has to be a part of jihad in whatever way they can. So if it's giving people hugs after they come off the battlefield, then that's your jihad, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of people see it that way too, right? But jihad means one thing, and really jihad means there shouldn't be anybody not Muslim on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Or that's at least they've either converted or they're paying
jizya.
jizya. Yeah, that's it. You're either Muslims or they're collecting taxes from you for not being and treating you like
Yeah,
seventh
which
class citizens.
isn't it funny? Can I be rude and kind of non PC here? Isn't it funny how
Right.
jizya to us American kind of sounds like they're gonna jizz on you, and that's literally what it is, because
Yeah.
not literally, but
Yeah. Yeah.
jizya, just so people understand, because I've had this conversation. So, well, so what if you live in a Muslim country and you just have to pay some more taxes? Guys, read up on it a little bit,
Yeah.
because jizya isn't just, hey, jizya literally is a skull tax, right? That's what that is.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's a skull tax, meaning your skull, you have to pay a tax on it because it's not Muslim. And so, the way it's written in the Quran, the Jews and Christians that are allowed to be spared and live in their societies, their pure Muslim societies, really is so they can have slaves and get paid by their slaves. You are not allowed to walk on a sidewalk. You have to walk in the middle of the road, the areas where the camels shit, historically, right? Because that's when they
Yeah.
wrote this bullshit.
Yeah.
And then, when a Jew comes to pay the jizya, he has to do it on his knees, and you spit on their head and blah, blah, blah. Guys, this is not the religion of peace. And this
No.
whole jizya thing, those of you guys who don't understand it, learn it. And those of you guys who think you understand it and it's okay, jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
Like, I got no better advice for you, because you're disconnected from reality if you really, view that.
Well, people who think that way, here's how you could immediately get them to turn their argument. Be like, so okay, so you'd be cool if Trump passed a law that said every Democrat had to pay jizya to him, and they had to do so on their knees, and he spit on their heads when he was done with them. You're cool with that?
Right. Oh, by the way, we're stripping away all your rights except
Yeah.
maybe you can live unless I decide I don't like you, in which case I drop bogus charges on you, and then we can cut your hands and head off.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, Chris. That's a really good point,
Yeah.
right?
When people say that kind of thing, I always just try to make them put the shoe on the other foot and be like, okay, if
Let's
you're
make it
cool with them
more,
doing it,
let's make it more gentle, right? Let's make it more
Yeah.
gentle. If Trump
Yeah.
came out right now and said, hey, if you voted for Kamala, you have a 1% increase in tax. That's it. That's the only difference in your life. We would have riots on the street before he even finished that sentence.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's funny to watch guys like Charlie Kirk and these guys that go around the universities that try to educate these kids, because we're a little late getting into it. We wanted to talk about Gaza. But you see so many Palestinian flags being flown in this country. And these ignorant liberal college students who are being indoctrinated in these universities, because that's all it is. They go out and regurgitate what they've been told. They're like baby birds, their professors puke in their mouth, and then they puke that same crap right back out. There's no critical thinking. There's no individual thought processes. They're just told that these poor people are being oppressed by the evil Jews for no reason.
Hey,
Whereas,
you know where else they get that exact education, as in Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Is middle school in Gaza.
Oh yeah. It's the same thing. You're right. It's the same thing. and that these poor people are oppressed. Where, like I said, a cursory glance at the history of the Palestinian people will tell you nobody wants them. It's not just Israel. Israel was kind enough to say, look, we're going to give you guys that little patch of dirt over there. That's yours. You got a nice coastline. You got some beaches. There's even some agricultural areas, but you got to stay in the box. Nobody else wants you, but we're going to let you live here. So just leave us alone.
Yeah. And look, people say, the Nakba. Nakba is how the Arabs refer to the big expulsion of the Palestinian people from their homeland, the Nakba, and the right to return, blah, blah, blah. Were Arabs moved from their house? Were some Arabs moved from their houses and expelled into the territories or Jordan and all that during and post 1948 war? Yeah. It's called the war. And when you come in and you attack with 5 armies against a people who don't even have an army and they kick your ass, guess what? We get to take your shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, that's how the world works. If you come and punch me in the face, you can't go cry then when I kick you in the balls and you puke, right?
Yeah.
That's just how it is. I'm defending myself, right?
Yeah. Especially if you come and do it in my house.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let me say this. Let me give a bit of a opposite perspective, which is Jews have always lived in Israel, right, through the ages. And I am living proof of that, right, because on 2 sides of my 4 sides, in terms of my grandparents' generation, both of my grandmother's families have been in Israel as long as we know how to trace it. Both of my grandfathers came from Russia in the early 1920s as kids.
Really?
And that's how all of Israel is, right? There are a lot of people like me who come from families who have been, many, many generations longer than there's a written record of in Israel. Right. And then here's my flip view that I'm trying to present is in the late 1800s, that's when a very, very large influx of Jews started coming in, mainly from Russia, to be honest, because, all the pogroms and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were running away from there, running away from a lot of other places, right? I mean, so Russia going into Eastern Europe. I was going to separate Eastern Europe, but Russia and Eastern Europe at that time were pretty much one and the same, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm talking, this is obviously pre-Soviet Union, but the Russian influence and the Cossack raids and blah blah blah, that kind of shit happened all over the place. And so the later 1800s is when the Zionist movement stood up, right? That started with Zev Herzl, if you've heard of him. He had a beard that looked just like Chris's, except more black, even though he was old. And he's who we attribute with being the father of modern day Zionism. And so the point I'm trying to make is that, you had this influx of Jews coming back to Israel, but, pre-statehood, it was actually called Palestine. Well, it wasn't even Palestine yet. Then it was under Ottoman rule, but because the British kind of renamed it Palestine then.
Yeah, when they wrote it on a map.
Exactly. Yeah, but that was after World War I, right? So 1919 is kind of when that trend starts.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because they kicked out the Ottomans during World War I, right? World War I was the end of the Ottoman Empire. So up until then, it was under Ottoman rule. Before that, Christians, Muslims, Rome, Greeks.
Crusade, conquest, conquest.
And that was in reverse order, by the way.
I know it was.
So
conquest, crusade.
Exactly. So the point I'm trying to make is, I get why the Arabs at the time were like, hey, we don't like all these Jews coming in and messing up our mojo. But think about this too, right? I've never heard this mentioned. In all the years from, let's call it, I don't know, the destruction of the Second Temple, right? And, after that, when the Jews got kicked out, blah, 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 Muslims took over after Muhammad, right? In the Muhammad died, I believe, what was it, like 630? And then within 10, 15 years, the Muslim armies were already kind of in that region, right? It's kind of a close place to get to. But from that point, and until the Jews came back and we created our nation state, what did you guys build there? Did you guys build cities? Did you build infrastructure? Did you
what was there?
Yeah. The only thing you built was a fucking mosque to cover up our temple. That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
What else did you fuckheads build? Right. And so you claim that's your land. You didn't even settle there.
Yeah.
Right. You were Bedouins, in tents.
Yeah.
So, so I was trying to give them a break and say, I do understand where a lot of this anger comes from. And I do. I get it. But it's time to move on, guys, because you keep trying to kill us and we keep winning. So move on.
It goes back to this modern progressive idea of occupied and stolen land, which are two factual words. Okay, all land is occupied. That's just a fact. I wouldn't call it stolen so much as I would call it lost in battle. Because that's how it happens. I always use the example of a pride of lions in Africa. A pride of lions in Africa has a hunting territory. It's their territory. They patrol it. They hunt it. They make sure no other lions sneak in. It's their spot. Well, until a larger pride comes along that can force them out, now the new pride has that territory. Yeah. That's a law of nature, and what humans forget is that those laws apply to us too. All wars are fought over essentially one thing. Well, two: resources and land. That's what chicks too. The chicks.
Maybe that was just the Greeks. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was. Never mind. But it's resources and land. That's what all wars are fought over. And when people want to complain,
control at the end, which sums down to exactly what you're saying.
Control the land and the resources on the land. Yes, and who gets to come on the land, and all these people that have offense to that and want to. Like here in the U.S., they want to call us colonizers and everything. Well, if people think that, then go back to England. The white liberals that are thinking this stuff about us, or Ireland, or wherever your ancestors came from. Go back there. If that's how you feel, leave this country then. Why are you staying here to continue to engage in the theft?
So let me take that the next step and connect it to the Jews, right? So the Jews are in Germany, the Jews are in Spain, the Jews are in Russia, the Jews are in blah blah
Poland,
blah. They were there, Iran, right? Everywhere, Poland, absolutely, Ukraine. And you tell them to go back to where you came from. Where do you mean?
Yeah.
Where should we go back to?
Yeah.
Where exactly? Yeah. Fucking Israel. That's where else? Right.
But that's it. But Israel's stolen land and you can't live there.
Right. So where do you want me to go back? Yeah. Oh, I get it. You want me to not exist. Why don't you be a man, grow a pair of balls and say what you think? And then we'll know. Right. Yeah. I'm not talking to Chris, obviously. I'm talking to these idiots.
Yeah.
But so with the Jews, imagine, so let's put the Pride of Lions example in the American context. So let's say you have the French coming over, not that would ever happen, that the French would colonize something, but let's say a group of French comes over and says, hey, we got kicked out of France for having this view or that skin color or whatever, and we're creating another French colony here, and it's going to be an independent France on the land of Minneapolis, let's say. I'm just making up a place.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, I understand you may have these aspirations, but like you have other choices. You have places you belong, right?
Yeah.
But when the Jews go back to the one place that they've always gone back to, every time we get kicked out, we go back, like a really bad headache, right? Like every time we go back, what else do you intend? So, and this gets me to the bottom line, which is anti-Semitism is a silly word, because can we just call it what it is, right? These people hate Jews. They want Jews not to exist. And I'm fine with that. That's why we have a country. That's why we have an army that can kick your ass. That's why, because we don't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
So, so let's put things in context. Now, the Palestinians that were removed, a few 100,000 Palestinians that did in fact get pushed out of their homes as a result of these wars and stuff in 40s and 50s. Well, they don't have a home, do they? What were they called then? The term Palestinian did not exist in relation to Arabs. It existed in relation to all the people living in that region that the British were trying to write down in their books so that they, in their census, so that
Okay.
lives there. Arabs and Jews were both called Palestinians. So my grandmother growing up as a kid, what do you think her ID card said? It said Palestinian. It said Palestine, right? It's Protectorate of Palestine, blah, 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 whatever the British terminology. It's the Mandate of Palestine is what the British called it. And so, so to me, already, get off my ass. This argument's done, right?
Yeah.
Any pro-Palestinian thing really holds no water because the people refusing to come to grips with the fact that we took over and still we're going to make you a part of our society as proved, not evidence. I was going to say evidence, but as proven by the fact that out of the 9 million people living in Israel, 2 million, rough numbers, 2 million of them are Palestinians, not the people you call Palestinians. Oh, beautiful CNN and ABC, right? But they are called Israeli Arabs. They have full voting rights. They have an Israeli passport. They have, socialized healthcare just like anybody else. Not that it's a great system, but they're part of the same system. They, all that stuff. Whereas 90% of homicides committed inside of Israeli society, the Arab society, right? The overwhelming, grotesquely majority of violent crime in Israel is Arab on Arab. I'm not even talking, I said crime, homicide, not terrorism.
Right.
Not even talking about terrorism.
Yeah.
So, and you made this point earlier. So the real home of the Palestinian people, they have a country. It's called Jordan. It's also not run by Palestinians. It's run by the Hashemites. Thank you, Britain. But so the king of Jordan is part of a ethnic minority there. You look at him and you go, hey, it's a white guy. Or people who don't know look at him and go, hey, it's a white guy. Yeah, it is a white guy. He's an Hashemite. It's a different sect there. And the majority of the people living in Jordan are Palestinians. Black September, blah, 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 right? The Palestinians started a civil war in Jordan in the 70s. Because the PLO there was trying to create terror cells to fight Israel, and Jordan was like, "Hey, man, we kind of got our asses kicked the last 3 wars, so we kind of want to sit out the next one." The Palestinians wouldn't let them, and so it started a civil war there. Well, what happens? Well, they move on to Lebanon, and they occupy southern Lebanon. Arafat himself. Right. And the PLO sat then in Lebanon. Well, they started a civil war in Lebanon because they started killing all the people and grouped up and in the creation of Hezbollah, which is a different organization from the PLO, but very much. And so and Lebanon, to remind everybody, was started, thank you, France, as a Christian country. And this ties back into the Druze thing because the French set up that government because God forbid you let the local people make a decision that, on their own. So the French set it up so that and pardon me if I'm inaccurate with which role was given to whom, but it was something to the effect of, well, the prime minister has to be a Christian and the minister of defense has to be a Druze. And then the, whatever third position, that's going to be a Shiite, which Lebanon is kind of more Shiite, majority Muslim as opposed to Syria next door, which is majority Sunni. So you see how complicated all this shit is. But the point I was trying to make is the Christians and the Druze were supposed to start that government based on what the French were trying to set up until the Muslims took over. And that was all due to the Palestinians there in the 70s and 80s, Arafat trying to, launch attacks against Israel. And that's what precipitated the 82 Lebanon war, the Israeli-Lebanon war, the first time we actually went in and invaded, got all the way through Beirut and north of and blah, blah, blah. And that ended up in our forces having been occupying southern Lebanon as a buffer zone until the year 2000 when we pulled out, which was almost as bad and embarrassing as our pullout from Afghanistan a couple of years back. It was that bad.
Oh, really? I didn't. I'm familiar with the pullout and the withdrawal and how that went down, but it was anything like that clusterfuck.
It was very bad, and in my opinion, personally, the most personally embarrassing thing. And by the way, I joined the army right when that was happening, so I never went to Lebanon in that Lebanon war context.
Yeah,
I may or may not have made trips there in other contexts, but not that one. And so, shit, TBI, I forgot where I was going with that. But the bottom line is, you know, we pulled out of there. Oh, here's where I was going is we Israel did a really, really, really bad thing there. And I think our hands were tied to a degree, but we still did this bad thing that we're very not proud of, which is while we were there fighting, we teamed up with what's called the South Lebanese Army, which had nothing to do with the Lebanese government. It was a Christian force. And that was the Christian side of that fighting group trying to regain, stability via the Christian lens. And so the IDF, I mean, hell, we even gave them IDF uniforms, right? And we fought side by side with them.
Wow.
But then when we pulled out, we kind of left them high and dry. A lot of them, many of them, we actually moved to Israel and rehoused them in Israel because they were going to get butchered. But many of them, we just left there to get slaughtered by these Muslims after. And it's a national embarrassment.
Well, you know, if that's the case, then, that's one time in Israel. I don't have enough fingers to count off the number of times the United States has done that to allies that we left abandoned on the field to face whatever,
including Israel during the Biden. When this war started, the Biden administration, and now our Congress is proving it. Our Congress here in America is proving it. Guess what's not in the news anywhere in this country is that the House of Representatives came out. It is all over the news, of course, in Israel for the last 2 weeks, has come out with findings that the Biden administration through USAID paid, it's somewhere just south of $1 billion to extreme left-wing organizations in Israel to fund all of the civil unrest against the government, because the government was right-wing. I hate the government there too, but they were essentially trying to pay for a internal coup in Israel to change the government to one of their woke piece of shit lefty, things. And it's now coming out that the Biden administration funded a ton of this activity. And let me remind you guys that the civil unrest in Israel, I should say that, we'll call it protests. They were actually, as opposed to what's going on here, for the most part, peaceful. Yeah, there were some fires burned, blah, 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 but these aren't people murdering people in the streets.
Right.
Down
everything wasn't looted out. And the entire,
no. They're actually protesting, but we had like somewhere in the area of 250,000 people in a country where there's only 7 million Jews. 250,000 people in the streets every day protesting is an unbelievably huge. It's an actual percentage of society, right?
Oh yeah.
And that is the reason we had October 7th, and in that timing specifically to begin with, because let's go back to the Quran. Right? When is the end of wars day in the Muslim context supposed to begin? Well, according to the Quran, it's supposed to begin when the Jews are fighting among themselves. And so we have 8 months of these protests funded by the Biden and Kamala Harris abortion. And they're funding this. And let's just give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't know it would cause an October 7th because they didn't know the first thing about Islam and never read a page of the Quran or listened to any history. The Arabs, the way they saw it, the Muslims there, and I'm not even talking about necessarily the Palestinians, right? But Hamas, Iran, Muslim Brotherhood, Hezbollah, all those
IRGC, all them clowns.
Qatar, who is another head. Yeah, exactly. So
Qatar.
Yeah. So the way they saw it is, hey, this is the time to start the end of days war. And they plan to all do it together at the same time, which would have been much more devastating to Israel. I think we would have survived it, but in a much worse way than we did.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as it started, Biden was like, oh, I'm sending a fleet to Israel to protect Israel, and Israel can defend itself. And then as soon as we start defending ourselves, he cuts off weapons and cuts off everything. So Biden, I want you guys to understand, when I say Biden, I don't mean the man. I know that guy.
The admin.
4 times 4. I know
Ah.
those people, right? That government at the time, you want to call it Obama, call whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. The American government at the time is single-handedly responsible for having given the Muslim hordes all of the ability and, more importantly, the legitimacy globally to keep killing Jews, right?
Yeah.
If there were an international criminal court, for example, if there were such a thing that were actually about this, they should put these people up for genocide.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that.
Instead, what are they doing? Right? Every single one of their decisions is against Israel. Have they said one word at the UN about the Druze?
No, I haven't heard nothing yet. Yeah,
I haven't heard it. So
I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah. So, all I can say, and I'm not a Trumper, but go Trump. I love him.
Yeah.
Thank you. Keep trying to make the world a better place.
He's working hard at it, taking Iran's nuclear legs out from under him, setting them back another decade at least, was a smart move. That needed to be done. I don't care who did it.
Necessary move.
Very necessary.
The way, we can talk about that. Maybe we can. Let's flow. We were planning to flow into Gaza, but we've taken up so much time. Let's bring it to Iran a little bit and the results of that.
Oh yeah, that was first the Operation Spiderweb that you guys pulled off. That
I'm not familiar.
Well, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong operation.
No.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with any operations anywhere.
No, me neither. But that one, I can only imagine the timeline involved in planning that operation. It's like to pull that off. That was
little trivia here. When did the beeper operation start? The Lebanese Hezbollah beeper operation?
Well, that's the one I was going with. I thought they called it Operation Spiderweb for some reason, but maybe I was wrong. But that's what I'm talking about. The beeper thing. Yeah.
You know what year they started that operation?
When?
2008.
See, that's what I'm saying. The fact that, because there's so much that would go into that operation being successful. The fact that you got to get that many pagers, and get the
material,
the method even. All right, how is this thing going to detonate? Because it's got to work as a normal pager for as long as they want it to, until you guys are ready for it to go kablooey.
So, and we get them to buy it. They paid for the whole operation.
They paid for them. That's what I'm saying. So you guys had to know that at some point they were going to be looking for beepers.
Insert Juju here.
I guess that is one you can make to really piss the Muslims off. But the fact that you guys waited and said, all right, at some point they're going to stop using cell phones because they know they're being targeted with those. They've learned that lesson. So maybe they're going to go to pagers, or they got intel that was looking to happen. So they've had to figure out how many they needed, get that many thousands of them, however many that was, get them all prepped and then ready for delivery for these guys to start carrying them around. Because I got to admit,
it took just to come up with how do we even get the, before they were like, hey, let's do pagers.
Yeah.
It's not like one day somebody was like, guys, let's sell them pagers. And, I have the whole thing worked out. No, it took years to figure out, like, hey, here's how we know how to listen to them. Here's how we know to get agents in there. Here's what we think they know, or what we know that they know about what we know and how we can hear, blah, blah, blah. And it was social engineering to get them back to going to an older form of communication that they thought Israel couldn't hop on that frequency.
Yeah. Well, that too. And they also, learned better than Americans that cell phone in their pocket is a tracking beacon.
Yeah, no kidding.
I
Huh?
mean, it's a I'm right here beacon. That's what it is.
That's
And
such a good point, Chris.
I mean, that's,
It's
pagers don't do
awesome.
that. Pagers don't do that, or at least they didn't think they did that. Um, and so you got a pager where to execute this plan, somebody made a group call, I would imagine, that went out to every pager and then
Well, so
entered whatever
let's
the
let's do
detonation
this
code was.
chronologically, because chronologically, everybody thinks it started with the pagers. It didn't. Where the idea originally came from had nothing to do with pagers. It had to do with we killed some Hezbollah fighters up in Lebanon, and noticed that they all carried the radio in the same pouch, and it was all the same radios and in the same pouch.
Oh,
Over the boat, right over the
uh-huh.
boat. And so they were like, hey, let's sell these guys some radios, some new upgraded radios. And every single Hezbollah guy is going to have it right here over his ticker. And then we can clack it all off at the same time. Hey, good idea.
Yeah.
And so in 2008, this operation actually started with the radio thing. And that's
Really?
where it started the progression into the beeper.
Ah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because not everybody's carrying a radio, because not everybody's out there on the line doing whatever. But so many of the because you got financiers and technicians and guys that never walked into the field. You're able to hit so
Exactly.
deep into their operation. All the people who claim to have clean hands and I'm not associated with Hezbollah. No, I'm just this good Lebanese guy here. And yeah, you just lost your ass though when that beeper blew up, or your hands, or
Sorry,
whatever it
guys.
may be.
My
I
bad.
mean, my bad. Oops. Damn lithium batteries.
Yeah,
But that was the brilliance and the patience of that. That when I didn't realize it went all the way back to 2008. But when that operation went down, I kind of sat and thought about it for a few minutes about like the monumental logistical operation alone of that. Not even talking about the intelligence side of it.
this
Just
was started in response to the second Lebanon war, which was 2007, and same kind of deal, except this time it wasn't PLO, it was just Hezbollah, shooting rockets and all that, and
yeah,
digging tunnels, and they have this these forces that had one forces that were designed to cross the border and take over and do October exactly 1-to-1 October 7th, just on a larger scale, which was what was supposed to happen on October 7th. But that's why we went in 2007 for the second Lebanon war, which was relatively brief. I had a good friend of mine from my unit actually die there. Took a 7.62 by 54 between the plates.
oh,
Yeah, shitty day. Shitty day. But anyway,
yeah, that's rough.
It's war, right? It's war. It happens. Not
It's
that I'm excusing it. He was
no.
such a wonderful, excellent operator too. But I'm not trying to belittle it. He's my friend, and I love him, and I wish we had him back. But it is a war, and this shit happens in war, right?
It does happen. We would love to be naive and say we'd like to live in a world without war. But human beings, I've been listening last few days while I was doing some stuff just to these little short stories on YouTube, and they're all sci-fi stories, and they're all sci-fi stories essentially about humanity's expansion into the galaxy. And in almost all of the stories that I've listened to by several different YouTube pages, every alien species comes to the determination that humans are too dangerous to deal with. They're like they fight amongst themselves. They everything about them they say is that we're just too dangerous. And if you look around this rock, well, I mean, there's a case to be made. I mean, because in these stories, the more enlightened life forms in the world, they don't fight amongst themselves no more. And that hasn't happened in their age, in their timelines, and ages and ages. But humans still do. So it makes me wonder sometimes if what's it, some the Fermi's paradox of why have we never found another intelligent life form anywhere with all the looking we're doing and everything. And the Fermi's paradox says that physics itself may kind of step in when a species gets to a certain technological state to essentially hide them from the rest of the universe. Like they're there, but you just can't see them or hear them because for whatever reason. But when you look at the human race, like I said earlier before the show started, humans have been fighting since there was 2 of them. You know, I mean, since there's 2 guys, they started. Then
want to go biblical with that example. Cain and Abel, right? Like this, the second and the third and fourth humans.
Eve started this shit, and then you got Cain and Abel coming out right behind them. With Eve starting it, and then Cain and Abel, like I said, first 2 males, and they're fighting, killing each other. So I don't think it. I think it's bred into our DNA.
Look, I think if you look at the animal kingdom, right, which I like to draw a lot of similarities. Having spent a lot of my life working with animals, right? I've lived on ranches in Montana and in Israel, raising cattle and goats and all kinds of other shit.
That's why your shins look like they do. Okay.
My shins look like they do because of CQB.
Yeah. All right.
Other things are other things. Okay. No. We like to joke around. I'm sorry. Sometimes our
CQB is that close quarter? Bah. Is that T-shirt, CQB, close quarter. Bah.
I'm still making that. And on that positive note.
Yeah, well, we're about to end actually right now, man.
Let me do this.
Yeah, go for it.
Our audience a second, if there is one. If there is one.
There should be one eventually.
Anyway, I hope people watch this. I hope people are not offended. If you're offended, fuck off. Because we're saying true stuff in addition to our opinion. If you don't like our opinion, you're welcome to not listen to us.
Yeah.
But I have so much fun with this, and that's why Chris and I decided to start doing this.
Yes.
Also, we're pre-recording it, and today is what I don't know. We'll put the dates up, but
today is Monday the 28th. Today's Monday, right? Yeah, today's Monday the 28th.
I'm in a blur. I've been,
I had to look at the calendar on the computer. I don't know what damn day it is. Exactly.
I'd like to make a request of anyone watching this for future ones. Because we pre-record them, please send us your questions.
Yes,
and we will address them. And so if you have cool, whatever, and there's no stupid questions, you're not going to offend us with your questions. And if you send us, questions, we will try to answer them and get into those topics as well. I will tell you that I won't answer all the questions because if I don't feel like I can really tell you something that I can, say is verifiable or whatever, then I don't want to get into it.
Right.
I don't want to lead people astray because we have too much of that. So that's how about that being my call to action right now?
That's a perfect one. You guys, everybody needs to get more educated. This is the first one of these we're doing, and these are going to be done on many topics. One of the ones that's on my list is facial recognition. We're going to talk quite a bit. I'm going to bring in some other folks too to when we do that conversation. There's a lot of topics that we need to talk about that I think people as a whole are not as educated as they need to be and should be in our current world. And with like this one with Angery, he's Israeli. This isn't hearsay to him. This is his lineage. This is his heritage. These things are real. He knows them. And for people who have super strong opinions against Israel because the Jews run everything, the Jews have run a lot in history, but it was usually from things, from places, because that's what they had to do to survive. The Jews are survivors.
Well, let's put it this way: when the Jews stop running things. Not that I don't think,
Yeah, I'm with you.
Stupid, but we have Jews running things, and then you have a decent life, and then the places where you're like kick the Jews out and all that. How's your life going over there?
Yeah, how's it looking for you these days? Yeah.
Either way, you know what? Let me end on this. This just popped in my mind, and I I think I told you about this when we were talking about this on the phone last week about my little mini epiphany.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's maybe a cute thing to leave
Absolutely.
this episode off on. So last week I was off training somewhere. Well, a good friend of mine who I work there with, he's also a very good instructor, Marine Corps guy, just wonderful guy, a little confused, but a wonderful, smart guy.
You said Marine. We got that part.
Yeah, well, yes, fair enough. I redundant.
I love them. Hey, I love my jarheads. I love my jarheads.
I love my Marines, and I
Yeah.
call them complete idiots out of
respect,
all the love,
and love.
Not even respect, just love. I love them.
Just love.
I'd go to war with Marines any day,
alongside,
not against.
Yes, no.
No, I love. Anyway, not the point. But I was talking to him. We always get into these big, ridiculous conversations, and you know, and he was saying, "Hey, look, man, you know, the Jews do douchey things too," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cool. 100%. But you know, humans are humans. What are you referring to specific? Well, the chosen people. You know, oh, we're the chosen people." And I was like, you know what? You're 100% correct. I think that is douchey. It's a douchey thing to do. However, two things, right? One, by definition, if you believe a religion, any religion, you're saying you are the chosen people. That's literally what religion says. You join us and you're gonna go to heaven or whatever.
You get these perks. Here's our perk list. You know, you join us, here's your perk list.
Exactly. Yep. So that's one, which I agree. Yeah. I don't like the whole we're better than you in any sense. Now we come to two, which is my epiphany. I was thinking about it afterwards. Epiphany might be a bit of a strong word for this, but realization. And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I'm just thinking, you know, the Druze thing's already been going on, all this. I'm thinking about our role in the world, our role, you know, with our own conflict and with our neighbors and all that. And I realized, you know what, man, and to set the record straight, I am not religious. Here we go. I'll say it on the internet. I'm an atheist, right? I'm proud of my Jewish heritage. I love the Jewish culture. I respect the Jewish religion as a historical record and method to make people be better humans with each other and with themselves. But I myself am not religious. I guess maybe agnostic is a more proper term, right? Yeah. Whatever. But we're not talking theology here. What I'm trying to say is the epiphany was, I think the Jews are the chosen people, but not in that same way that people understand it. I don't think we're chosen in the sense that we're better than anybody. I don't think we're chosen in the sense that we should be controlling the world or anything like that, which is not what Judaism says to begin with anyway. It's a non-proselytizing religion.
Yes. But so the Druze, non-proselytizing.
100% very exclusive, right?
Yes.
Although we are allowed to intermarry, it's frowned upon, but the Druze are not allowed to intermarry. My realization is as follows. I do think that we are chosen. I wouldn't say necessarily by God, and chosen may not be the right word, but that's the word used. I think we are chosen to show the world what evil is and how to fight evil, and that it's time to get up and fight evil. That's kind of my realization. I know it's kind of maybe a anticlimactic thing, but if you look at what's going on and you look at Israel's is kind of like a mirror right now for the Western world going, hey, we let this go on so long. And a big reason why we had October 7th, the big reason why all this is happening is because we have been super liberal and allowed, because we love life, right? And we want to have a good life. That's called Western values. And Western values were built upon originally, even though I argue with this against people on the left all the time that say that our culture was not built on Judeo-Christian Yes, it was.
Yeah, right? It was.
It was built based on lessons learned from the Judeo-Christian faiths, and that is how America was created, as well as a lot of the European nations. So, you know, so I do think we're the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, holding the mirror up to the world, going, "Hey, you're letting these people in. This is what happens next."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Hey, you see, you're letting them in here now, but do you see what they did there and 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 there? And do you see what they did everywhere else? Now they're coming in here and talking real nice right now. They're talking a lot of nice cities to be. It's super nice. That's not going to last. Let's ask East, Western Europe how it's working out for them right now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking this up. I'm looking up a quote right now because I wanted to end in usual fashion. I did not prepare, but I wanted to end with a quote from Golda Meir, and so I'll paraphrase it because I don't want to get too distracted here, but
yeah,
by saying that essentially she said, "Hey, look, we're never going to have peace here until the Arabs learn to love their kids as much as they now love death." Take that in. That was Golda Meir. She was our prime minister who ended her prime ministership after the huge failure of the Yom Kippur 1973 war, the first October 7th war.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what she said. When the Arabs learn to love their children as much as they hate death, we may have peace. And
there's
it
a lot
strikes
to
me
unpack in that statement.
There is. And I know that people listening, if you don't have a lot of experience or past experience or whatever with the Middle East, with Arab and Muslim culture, you can argue against that, but go live for just a little bit in any of those places and you will understand that that's unfortunately that's the truth. And our Western values of hey, why don't we just give them back Gaza? They can have a Palestinian state there. And this is what we get, right? We've been trying it over and over. So
Yep.
That's my message. Let's end it on a happy note.
And on that note, we will end it because I got an appointment I got to run to. So, guys, thanks for hanging out with our second installment of In Focus, which is, conveniently enough, we're dressed the same. But there'll be more of these. We're going to keep these discussions going, and we will drop back and look at the comments on this one, guys. So we're going to pay particular attention to these little episodes that we're doing to be able to answer questions and to help educate. Because if you guys ask questions we don't know the answers to, we'll find them for you, and we'll also tell you that we didn't know this either. So we're not trying to BS nobody. We're not trying to pull the wool over nobody's eyes. We're just trying to spread awareness.
Yep.
So,
Anyway, thanks for being here. And you guys, whoever's watching, I appreciate you guys, and stay American or stay proud of wherever you're from. Hopefully.
That's right. Yeah. Take pride in your heritage and your history, wherever you came from. It doesn't matter. Everybody has the right to be proud, And on that note, you guys know the deal. Be good at it. Can't be good at it. At least be deadly. Till next time.